Welcome to the Got Invention Show. I'm your host, Brian Freed, and today we have Larry Holmes of SafeHolmes, and he invented a faucet restraint. Welcome to the show, Larry.
Brian, thank you so much. Hey, and before we get started, I know we've talked a little bit. I want to thank you, brother. I sincerely want to thank you because, again, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here because as we've spoken, you can have the greatest design in the world, the greatest product, but if no one knows, we don't exist. So because of you giving this avenue for us to show what we do, I salute you.
Thank you, Larry. And if you didn't invent what you invented, I don't know if we would have met either. But I'm happy we came together. So Larry, you're an interesting guy. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I am Larry Holmes. I am a consumer product industrial designer. I am originally from Michigan, outside of Metro Detroit. I currently reside in Fishers, Indiana with my wife and 2 children.
Very nice. Well, great to meet you and great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So Larry, you had this situation that happened. Why don't you tell us about what kind of problem you had, and then we'll talk about the solution and you'll demonstrate it. But what was it that really happened for you to have this invention come to life?
Well, thank you for asking. To make a long story short, I lived in a small house. It was so small that literally to go from my son's room to the kitchen was approximately 10 feet. And to go from his room to the bathroom was literally about 7 feet. I just got finished feeding him his bottle. I literally went from his bedroom to the kitchen when I heard the sound of running water. For whatever reason, my son had this idea to run and turn on the water. When I ran back in there, I saw him literally falling into the tub. Quickly ran, grabbed him, picked him up. He's looking kind of shocked. I wiped him off, made sure that he was okay. And I kind of reached up to the sky and went, why doesn't someone create something to prevent this from happening? And that's when I had this epiphany. Listen, you're a designer. Why don't you create something? And that's how it started.
Crazy. So all of a sudden you just distracted or you had to take care of something, and kids can move pretty quick. And they're unpredictable sometimes, especially at an age where they're kind of counting on you and relying on you. So all of a sudden, poof, you turn around and something like that happens. It could be outside, it could be inside. You happen to experience it inside your house by the tub.
Correct. Literally, when you hear parents talk about that it only took this incident happened, it only took a minute. Literally, something like this, an accident, literally can happen in a minute.
Wow. So there you are. The bulb went off, designer by trade, situation happened. What did you come up with, Larry? Why don't you show us the faucet restrainer?
Well, let me show you this. Here we go. Here's the packaging. Hopefully you guys can see it. Hope you like it. It comes with 2 collars and what's called a zip strip. There's also some rubber stripping inside, because when you hear people talking about that something is a universal, one size fits all, there is no such thing as a one size fits all. I consider mine a one size fits most. So here's what we have right here, and I'll show you details in just a few minutes.
Okay. Well, why don't you show us? Show us what's in the package and show us actually how it works.
Excellent. Okay, so here we go. We have these are collars. These help to cuff it, and then you have a zip strip. And as I said, also it'll come with some rubber stripping to help secure it. So it's easy. It goes on in probably less than a minute. So let me show you how it works. You take the zip strip and you see that it has these teeth bit on here, designed on here, and then 1 collar. You just take it, squeeze, and just put it on. So then you take the second collar and just slightly put that on there. So now let me go over here. So this is crucial. So then once you take it, this is designed for a dual handled sink. So you just take it, flip it on, and then you slightly adjust as needed. And once this baby is on, literally, it is not happening.
Wow.
Now, again, because there's so many different styles in the industry, that's why we give a little rubber strip to help, secure it a little better.
Wow. And then it comes off. Show us how easy it comes off, Larry.
It comes off even easier. Now, this has been, when I say it comes off easy, it's been designed strictly that is strong enough to prevent a toddler, but it's easy for an adult. So you just squeeze, pull it off, just that simple.
Wow. Look at that. A faucet restraint from Larry Holmes. Very interesting.
Literally, there is no other unit in the market for this. There's nothing else on it, and it surprised me. Um, Literally, this is it. Now, what you're showing right now, this is also designed for the tub as well. So, and what the difference is, the zip strip is actually extended. I don't know if I really mentioned, but we have our Rev 2, which hopefully it should be out early next year. Rev 2 is designed to fit almost 90% of the faucet handles out there.
Very nice. So
And
this is a tub, and you had some customers send you some pictures of where it actually is in the front and
yes,
also on from the outside. Okay.
yes. These are some satisfied customers, and if you look to the one on the right, you can see the rubber wrap on there.
You're a product designer by trade. You might
Yes.
have a little bit of an advantage for somebody that might just come up with an idea and doesn't really know where to go or where to start. But with you, Larry, so you came up, so the situation happened.
Yes.
Did the design come right into your head at that point? Or what did you do after you experienced that and then started to just stop in your tracks and say, you know what? I got to do something about this.
You know, the unfair part is that yes, I am a designer by trade, by occupation. I've been doing this for years. But the part that puts me on level playing ground is the fact that getting the resources to do this, I'm the same as every other person. I still had to come up with finances. I still had to come with manufacturers. I had to come up with people to do tooling. I still had to do some of the engineering. I had to even get some buddies of mine, thank God, that helped me with the engineering. So on that level, the playing ground is equal. It just takes a lot of diligence.
Okay. So you came up with the idea, you pictured it in your head. Maybe it doesn't look exactly like it does today when you first started. So tell us what you did first, Larry.
Well, let me say this. You know, there's the expression of an overnight success. I know several people who are very successful, and my product has been going on for about 13 years to be an overnight success. Literally, there's been iteration after iteration after iteration, after prototype, after mock-up, after mess-up, and money after money. So there is no easy solution.
It's interesting because consumers see the product on the shelf. They
Mhm.
don't know what you and I go through behind the scenes as inventors to get to where it is today. But you know what? So as you started and when you first started, what did you do first, Larry? Did you start to design it out? Did you go into looking into patent type of process? Tell us about that experience.
You know, initially I started out with sketching, and sketching because when I started, this was not a product that I was going to design for the multitude. This is just something that I was going to design for my children to keep my kids safe. As I showed it to a few of my peers and buddies that had small toddlers, they each wanted one. So to fast forward it slightly, as I started making prototypes, I would give it to my peers that had children, and then they would test it and they showed it off to others, and so on and so on. And that's how it perpetually started to move.
Okay. You had that point where you felt like you had it at that good point to be able to continue. So you have the sketch. It looks like pretty much what you're thinking should look good. What did you do after that, Larry?
No, I wish I could say it was that simple. And yes, you can simplify it, but literally, again, this has been going on for 13 years. So if I have literally maybe about 100 prototypes down in the basement. I have sketches. I have thousands of sketches and sketches and sketches because the more you do it, the more I start talking to manufacturers. I started hearing about cost, and this is going to cost me. I mean, I think I have aluminum molds, and my aluminum molds costed me $13,000, and that's not even the patents, and that's not even steel molds. So you have to take it and modify it and refine it and modify it and refine it and break it. There's a situation, there's an expression in the market called fail fast. So literally I'd make prototypes and I would purposely try to break it. I would get neighborhood kids to try to break it to see where were the parts that were weakest and more modifications. So again, this has been over 13 years.
Now, out of the 13 years, how long has it been out in the market for people to purchase?
Um, Initially, I started out going to trade shows or flea markets. So again, that was little to no traction. But literally, it's been on social media for approximately 2.5 years now, maybe three.
Okay.
And I started out with one and then went to some others.
That's fine. So even when you were in the flea market and selling it at your local store, whatever, was that also about 2.5, 3 years? Is that when was the first time that you were selling the product?
The first time I probably started selling it was about 6 years ago, 6 or 7.
Okay. Okay.
Again, I didn't think it was going to really go anywhere. I was just trying to see if there would be traction, if people would be interested in it. And this is part of the research and development.
Okay. You had it sketched out, you started going through the process. Tell us about your patent experience.
Okay. Now, again, I had an advantage with that because of some of the companies that I worked for, they would get patents. So I would have to interact with the patent attorneys. And so when I knew that this was going to be a viable product that I was going to pursue, I would make a basic template of the questions that our patent attorneys would ask. I would erase their answers and fill in those questions with what I would say.
Okay.
And that's how it initially started.
And did you do a patent search? Because a lot of people, Larry, they'll come up with an idea, they'll get excited, they get emotional, and all of a sudden they're involved in the process, and they didn't start with doing a simple search to make sure that you can call it your own and
Yes.
have it where it's your own intellectual property. So how did you, when you started working with the patent attorney or agent, how is that kind of leading you to getting a patent?
Well, initially I started out with Google patent search because it's very simple. If you go to the PTO, it's pretty complicated, especially for a novice. So I started out with Google patent search, very, very easy. And that gave me an understanding of what was or what isn't out there. From there, what people don't realize, universities, if you go through their legal department, they offer free patent, not just advice, but free patents for novice inventors under a certain income.
Okay.
So
And
yeah,
when you mentioned PTO, it's the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office website.
you're
You
correct.
chose to use the Google Patents
You're
website
correct.
to do some searching and maybe be able to find some prior art or
You're
compare
correct.
what you have to what other types of intellectual property that's out there to see if you could call it your own. So
You're
that's
correct.
great. Now, tell us about the prototypes. You started to make prototypes of the original iterations. What was
Right.
that experience like?
That was, now that I look back at it, it was very comical. Without giving too much detail, I've had prototypes that were this big, huge. And the how I knew that in my mind they were going to be great. But when I started talking to people in the industry, and I let them see, because let me back up. I was going to try and license it back then, which I still am. And when I would let people in the industry see it, they were like, dude, this is going to be thousands of dollars in plastic and in money. And so I had to figure out, how do I window this down and chip away the non-essentials to get to the viable, most important meat.
And
And
that's an important part because you want to make sure that it's still going to do what it's supposed to do. You
correct,
probably have to be concerned, like you were saying, you want to make sure that a kid can't break it and then all of a sudden the piece is in its mouth.
correct,
Then you also want to make sure that it's functioning properly
correct.
and the least amount of material because the material costs money,
Cost effective, yes.
cost effective. Now, going through this, so how is that going through the stages of the prototype? Was it exciting, frustrating? Tell us about that experience.
It was a little bit of both. The thing is, I found myself obsessed by this. Literally, I couldn't sleep without getting up. I kept a pad and paper. I'm sketching and sketching. Even during my normal day, I'm coming up with what should I do? I could do this or do that. So it became an obsession. So when you talk about the prototypes, it was all a part of the pregnancy, part of the birth. And it actually fueled me more. Yes, there's times when I thought, this is it, this is it, wow, and it would break, it wouldn't work. Or someone else let's say a friend would go, well, have you thought about this? Oh, shoot, I didn't think about that. Because as a designer, by it being my baby, I was too close to it. And someone outside of this who had nothing to gain, they saw the flaws. And that's when it got frustrating.
Let's stop for a second and let's show the audience one more time how it works and what it does.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. So again, you have a zip strip and it has teeth on here. This is what catches. And then you have two collars. So you just take it. Hopefully you can hear that. And that's how you know it's secure. Then you take the second one. And so I'm going to show you. And just slide it on there. So we're going to go back over here. And you're going to have to adjust it a little bit. Just put it on. Take it to the other side. Slide. And kind of adjust to fit your hardware. So I'm going to do that. And
just that simple.
Just that simple.
Wow. Now let's take a look at the tub now, Larry. And what you did was you have an extension for tubs. Is it the same product? And then this is a version that's available for sale?
Yes, it is. Now I have to explain this. I would get, when I say a lot of parents, I literally mean a lot of parents that would contact me because they wanted the unit. They would say, I want it, but it won't fit my tub. And I would tell them, listen, you know, this one this was designed for the sinks. Now and I have to back up. Initially, I wanted to do it for a tub, but as when we talk about cost, it costed a lot more money than I had at the time to get my molds, which is why I went for the sink. So the parents were literally asking me, is there anything you can do? So I kind of MacGyvered it, and I took, let me go over here. I took two zip strips and I basically tethered these together, making a long one, making a longer one. And I sent it to the parents. I said, you know, I understand your frustration. I understand your fear because you're thinking, my child, what's going to happen? Will they go through what Larry went through, either drown or get burned? Because scalding is a big deal. And I sent it. They sent it back and they said they loved it. They loved it. They loved it. Well, then another parent would ask and another parent, and it just perpetually kept going. And that's how it is. Right now, again, I'm in the process of looking for new manufacturers. I'm going to get new tools and everything's going to be remolded.
It's interesting because you started off with the sink faucet when the idea happened in the tub.
Correct. Exactly. And again, that was a cost thing because, again, as an individual inventor, the cost is unbelievable. Again, as I said, my tools, my molds costed me $13,000, and that wasn't even the patent cost. That wasn't even the prototypes and et cetera, the packaging. And so it's a living thing. It's constantly in motion. It's constantly evolving, getting better and better every chance I get.
How did you find a factory to make the mold and to go into production? And are you doing it in the US or overseas?
100% US. As for how I found it, Google, YouTube, not YouTube, but Google, internet search constantly. And again, because I'm a designer, I had a few resources which would lead me to a certain direction. I started to go overseas, but in my mind, I want to keep everything US made.
Okay.
That is my hope and my goal.
And the other part of it is to make sure that your pricing is in line with what a consumer would pay. So you probably had to balance that.
You're exactly right. As it pertains to that, literally, I would probably be cheaper overseas. But at the same time, there's a lot of costs involved with having it shipped from over there to over here. And then when you're dealing with, you know, supply chain and all that, it's much better just having it here because if there's an issue, I can go down the street, I can go to the next city, the next state, wherever my product's being made, and I can iron out any issues there.
So this is really the first time that you're going through the process. You're kind of doing it for other people. And now all of a sudden Larry's involved in this and you're like, emotionally into it. You said cost-wise, just really into this.
Yes.
And now let's talk about the packaging. So, okay, Here we go. We got all this done, and now we need packaging. So show us the packaging, Larry.
Let me show you this again. What worked out so great is if you see the packaging, worked out. The company's name is SafeHolmes. Well, my last name is Holmes. This is my last name. And part of my goal, my intent is to keep homes safe. So it was a play on words. And so, you know, by me being a designer, I was able to utilize my knowledge of Photoshop, and I just created that. And it's the Faucet handle restrainer.
And you have the packaging, barcoding. You probably have to get a little bit deeper into it.
Yes.
Now, okay, and then instructions, right?
Complete instructions, because the reality is it is a deterrent. It is a deterrent, is a fail-safe. This, you still need parental guidance or guidance, and because every kid is different. There's certain toddlers that are stronger than others. So mine is designed to kind of protect from like the 2-year-old to maybe the 6-year-old. But the reality is, if the guy's 7 years old and he's strong, you know, there could be some issues. But I want to keep the toddlers safe. So there we go.
You have your product design hat on. Now you have to go into the marketing side. All of a sudden, you do the packaging, you do some fine packaging there to get it through and put it in a poly bag. Now the next step is to make a website.
Oh, yes. Website, that was a challenge. You know, I try to pretend I'm like Forrest Gump and I wear a lot of shoes, or I wear a lot of hats, and it was very crude in the beginning, and it's a lot better, and it's evolving, and thank God I had some friends to help tighten it up and work with me, and I just went through Shopify because theirs is literally drag and drop, and I did it that way.
Okay. You have a website, you have a finished product. What did you do next, Larry?
Well, first of all, the website is SafeHolmes.com. So if you see SafeHolmes, safe, and my last name, SafeHolmes.com. And after that, it was marketing, whether I went through Facebook, Instagram, I even had Twitter for a minute. The first place that I started was Amazon. That was the first place that I started selling. And Amazon was fantastic. I mean, sales just scared me how much they blew up. From Amazon, I went to Etsy, from Etsy, eBay, Poshmark, and of course my own. And those are the avenues that I'm at right now.
Did you think when you first invented this that you were going to sell online? Did you have a plan before you started making the product?
You know, for me, I'm glad I did not have a plan, because if I would have known the labor that it was going to take, the resources that it was going to take, the duration that it was going to take, I probably never would have done it. I could tell you so many stories, which I'm not going to go into. This was literally a labor of love. That's the thing that kept me going. That's the obsession, and it's working out. And then right now I'm at a stage that I'm trying to expand the brand, not only by getting it seen by your viewers and other viewers, but I'm also trying to get Rev 2 out there.
Show us a demo one more time, and just show us, because I noticed in the package there was that extra piece that goes on to fit the other faucets. Maybe you could just show us that also.
Okay, now I'm going to try and be charismatic and try not to goof up. So here we go. Again, you have a zip strip. It has these teeth on here, and then you have your collars. You just take it simply, just put it on there. So then you take the other side and fit that on there as well. Come over here. Now, when I talked about this rubber, I'm just gonna demonstrate it, but I'm not really gonna put it on. I'll come over here. Just take it and simply wrap that around so it becomes a filler. So then, I hope you can see that.
Yep.
So this time, I don't want to be too clumsy, add that on there. Now it's much more secure.
Got it. Okay. And we can actually see it. I'm going to go to the tub
right there,
and we could see the tub that has it on, and it's kind of wrapped around so it fills and you're able to slide it back on. Got it.
Exactly, because there's so many different styles of handles. You know, some may be more gappy, some may fit really tight, and so this helps to fill the gap for those oddities.
Larry, you've come a long way.
I'm
You're
sorry.
gone through all the iterations of where it is today. It looks pretty slick. It
Thank
sounds
you.
slick. It works well.
It works very well.
I can tell from who you are and what happened that you have taken this project very personally, and it's a great product. Prevention
Oh,
is tough. Go
I have to
ahead.
tell you this. One of the things that was surprising to me is literally 35% of my customers are pet owners. I didn't realize that cats would get up there and turn on the faucets. And literally, they would call me. I keep saying literally, but they would constantly contact me. Hey, will this work for my cat? So yes, it will work for pets as well.
Fantastic. Well, you just expanded your window of opportunity for more customers.
That is
Larry,
right.
there are people that are watching that have an idea in their head, or they've had an idea in their head at some point. They kind of just said, I'll leave it for somebody else. I'll leave it for Larry to invent. But then there's people that are in the steps of the invention kind of process and they're stuck. What are some words of wisdom from you, Larry, just going through the experience and doing this for 16 years now? Give us some words of wisdom to share with the viewers and the listeners out there.
Well, there's an expression: if you seek, you will find, and it's true. If we've all had those ideas where we see something on television and we go, I had that idea. I had that idea. Well, if you feel that you have another idea that you find yourself obsessed with and you can't get this out of your head, and you find yourself thinking about it in your sleep or even in your normal day, this is probably something telling you you should go for it. When I say seek, you should find. There are resources out there, just like I said, with universities. There's universities in their legal departments that will give free legal assistance for patents, which is what helped me. I had resources. You never know who may be an engineer or a designer or an artist that can help you out with the graphics. So you got to have passion. You got to be prepared for the hard times. Being an entrepreneur, if you're not ready to accept failure, you're not going to be an entrepreneur. There's going to be so much failure. And when I say failure, it's not really failure, it's a lesson. Because, and I know it's cliche, but every failure that I had literally made me go, hindsight, I'm glad that happened. So obsession, keep going, don't quit, period.
Love it, Larry. Thank you so much for that. Larry, your website is
Safe
safehomes.com.
home. You're
If
correct.
we go on Amazon, what do we do to find your product?
Go to the faucet handle restraint. You'll just search faucet handle or faucet handle restraint, and also Etsy. Etsy has been fantastic. Same thing, faucet handle restraint.
Larry, thank you so much. Really appreciate you being on our show. You're an inspiration, and we hope that your sales skyrocket and
Brother,
you take it to wherever you want to go.
I appreciate you so much. I really do. Whenever I'm on the East Coast, we're breaking bread on me.
I love it, Larry. Thank you again.
Thank you, Brian. Take
Thank
care.
you. And if you'd like to be a guest on the Got Invention Show, simply go to gotinventionshow.com and schedule your interview. Thank you very much. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep your ideas and your dreams happening just like Larry. And we'll see you soon on the next episode. Take care.